You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
Hey guys, so welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So I have a treat for you today, and I have been looking for somebody to have this conversation for a long time. And so I have Mr. Culin Tate, and so let me tell you about Culin. So let me give you the title first. I'm gonna give you the hook so you know why you're listening. So the title is The 4 Pillars of Short-Term Rental Investing to Create Financial Freedom. So we're going to talk about short-term rentals today. And because what Culin does is he helps individuals find financial freedom through short-term rental investing. And so Culin, right, is a serial entrepreneur. He's the owner and host of 8 Airbnb properties. He's an Airbnb ambassador, short-term rental coach, author of Host Coach, right? And he's a speaker. And his mission is to share his experience, knowledge, and specific tools, software, and systems to harness the unique opportunity of short-term rental investing so that others can enjoy life for free and live their why. So get your pens out, guys. This is going to be fun, but I guarantee there's going to be some writer doubters here. You're going to listen to this more than once. But Culin, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thanks, Curtis. Great to be here.
Yes. So tell them what I didn't tell them. How'd you get into this? And then let's show them how to make some money.
Yeah, right. I got into real estate a little bit by accident. I had always been really curious about real estate. I had a couple of rental condos that didn't really work out, didn't really ever make me any money. But I bought a cabin. And when my son was like 3, that age where you just didn't need to do anything, get out of the house, right? Mm-hmm. So bought this cabin and started letting some friends stay there. And then friends of friends wanted to stay. So I said, let's try out this Airbnb thing. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, as soon as I put it on Airbnb, it was booked. I mean, every weekend booked. I don't think it's ever been open since then for a weekend. So that kind of gave me the first taste.
That's good. And so how long ago was this?
So that was 2016. So I had that cabin and it was doing well. And then in 2018, the spring of 2018, I sold a company and started scratching my head, trying to figure out what to do next, right? Mm-hmm. Where's my next cash flow, coming from? And since that cabin was doing well, I decided to just lean into that and ended up buying a couple more cabins that summer, really, and was able to really experiment and start to really learn the short-term rental game by having multiple properties and experimenting across them.
Mm-hmm. So, because your background was in tech, you were a tech entrepreneur?
Correct. And I was always on like the marketing side of, whatever company, so be it physical marketing, sales management, Google ads, social media marketing.
That is so funny. I've told my daughters, I said, listen, I always go back to my daughter when she's talking to me about like career stuff. I said, look, there's 3 parts of business: before, during, and after. Okay. Marketing, marketing, right? Attracting, capturing information, and nurturing. And the money is made there, right? So whatever you're doing, I don't care what field you want to be in, you need to be where the revenue's generated and helping you. Because if you're not in sales or marketing, you're in support of sales and marketing, fulfillment. But
what's that famous quote? Nothing happens till sale gets made.
That's right. And you have to be on that side of it. So guys, that's a key point right there, that he's able to transition from that into other stuff, because you need to know how to get customers for your thing.
Exactly. So I was able to really kind of study in on the tools around, the short-term rental industry. There's some great tools. We could dive into that a little bit, but I was really able to maximize and do really well with these cabins in my area. And what happened was, so friends started coming to me saying, you're doing really well. Could you show me how to do that? Which piqued my curiosity, because I started to wonder, well, am I just lucky, or, can I do this just for myself? It turns out I was able to teach and show, sort of some friends, and then family started to come, and that sort of really was exciting for me to be able to share that information. And that's what really got me excited about helping people, create financial freedom through short-term rental investing. I realized this is powerful. People can quit their jobs, right? People don't have to, I have a family member who, she's a social worker, and she's like, I'm burnt out on it. I'm going to get myself out of that 9 to 5.
Yes. And so why do you think like as you look at, because people say I want to do real estate, that's a big universe. And so there's a lot of niches within that. And one of the things I've heard you say that, you think that Airbnb investing is the most stable and efficient way to create wealth. Give me a little behind your belief system and where that came from.
Yeah, I think it's, I added the word stable because I used to caveat and say, the single greatest wealth creation opportunity, maybe outside of blockchain, right? Crypto assets. But that's, so hence the stable, right?
Yeah.
So, it's a little more volatile over there in that world of, really the Wild West.
Yeah, little is not is yeah. It's like that commercial. I'm a millionaire. No, I'm not. I'm a millionaire. That commercial is hilarious, right? That's what happens over there.
So the short-term rental market is very stable in that what rent you're going to get and what your occupancy is going to be like, and you can manage it like a business. In the long-term rental market, you get 4 doors or a condo, a townhouse, and you rent it out once. Operating a short-term rental is a little bit more like running a business.
Yeah.
So we're always improving the product. We're always dynamically changing the pricing, right? So we're adjusting our pricing. If we've got an occupancy coming up, next week, we're bringing that price down to try to hustle in that listing, that booking. Whereas, conversely, further out, next, over the summer, we're charging higher rates. So we're really operating this more as a business than just a passive, long-term rental. So that gives us the stability of the cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it is a business, right? And, one of the things, Culin, when we talk about asset classes, there's 4 asset classes: business, real estate, paper, and commodities. But when you look at the Forbes 400, they build businesses and they buy real estate, usually in that order. Right. And so your fastest path to cash a lot of times is business. Tell me a little about the model, because I've heard 2 different ways. So I don't, whereas you're buying them to do short-term rentals, or there's another model where what's the other one? Where you're subleasing arbitrage with other stuff. Do you have a favorite, or you do a little bit of both, or what's your philosophy around that?
So, I don't do any arbitrage. It is an interesting way to get started, right? So if you're really trying to get started with really minimal capital, and you can have the hustle to go out and find a landlord that is on board with what you're doing, there's money to be made. But I really like owning the hard asset. I feel like I can make improvements to that asset with my own 2 hands, and a paintbrush and, a hammer,
right,
that I wouldn't really be doing in a lease, to a leased property. And the revenue, you're not necessarily getting, $300 a night in a studio apartment that you're subletting. But when you're owning a getaway type, cabin that I focus on, those are very feasible numbers.
Let's talk about that for a second. So you have getaway cabin or destination, or you look for areas like that, like a lake or
my thesis is that a couple hours drive from every city in this country, Chicago, New York, Philly, where you're at, there's a place where people like to go, right? Where do you want to go get away for the weekend? Be it a guy's trip, or with your family, or with your significant other. You can always think of where would you like to go. You can also do like a Google search, right? Best weekend getaways from Philadelphia, and areas that you may not have thought of will pop up. And so the thesis is those areas exist with a couple hours drive from every major metropolitan city, and they are made for fantastic investment opportunities.
That's because it's funny when you travel. We were taking our daughter up to, where are we going? Somewhere off of Lake Traverse City, Michigan, right? So all of a sudden, when you start going through Michigan, what they call up north, everybody's got a boat, and you see all these lakes, or Minnesota, same thing. And then it's like, okay, so where do, because we have the beach, because we're like, everybody goes to Jersey Shore, Delaware Shore, but where are you at? Where do people go? In Utah, we went to Bear Lake, right? And then you have all these cabins up around Bear Lake, which is Idaho and Utah. And so in your area, you should think about where people go. And I guess is your advice to think about that, like get a map out or Google search and draw it. And then do you start looking for opportunities there to purchase? To walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So once you have decided, I want to be in Bear Lake, for example, right? Now we need to decide, is that a good market for Airbnb, right? It's a place you're excited to go. So we can do that in two ways. One, we can go to Airbnb and we can just put in Bear Lake, and we're looking to see, is there a market there? Are there more than, say, 100 listings and less than maybe 500? If there's 4 or 5 listings, then there's something wrong, right? There's a reason that market's not supporting, maybe there's regulation, right? The other thing that we can do is there's a great software. It's called Airdna. It's a website, airdna.com. And you can go there and plug in the zip code for where you're interested in researching, and they'll give you some free information about the number of listings and average daily rates. But then if you really are thinking seriously about making an investment, you subscribe, and it's like $20 a month, $25 a month. Very affordable, and you don't need it for a long time. And that's going to really dive into and give you what the average occupancy is, what the average daily rates are, to allow you to build your forecast, build your numbers to know what you can expect this property to generate in revenue.
That's awesome. And so now you can kind of figure out, all right, here is my potential revenue. And so is it basically like, so maybe some people are already investors. Is it, you have a kind of a formula that you do to kind of take down the property? You still got to do 20% down in the whole, let me buy it and do whatever. Is that the same on the back end of acquiring it or refurbishing it, or what you're going to do? You have a way you think about that?
Yeah, I think unpack that. There's a couple of things in there. So first, finishing out that P&L, the profit and loss, we do need to then figure out what our operating costs will be, cleaning and insurance and wear and tear, those types of things. It generally, as a rule of thumb, works out to be about 50% to the bottom line. Just to have a quick sketch. In my book, I do a whole P&L that'll give people the ability to fill in their own numbers.
And that book is Host Coach.
Right, on Amazon. And then to your points further about financing the deal, one thing that's pretty nice about vacation rental homes is banks are used to successful business, successful people walking in and saying, I'm ready to go buy that lake house. The financial institution gets that first getaway house. They understand it. They're expecting. I was kind of make the joke, Mr. May, we've been waiting for you to show up for that that beach house, right? I see your kids are 5 and 6, and it's time for that lake house, right? So that type of vacation home, the conventional, you can get a 10% conventional, 10% down.
Really? It's funny. We teach a strategy called I've started to pull it back out because I was at a conference. Like, I haven't stopped talking about this. So we call it the 401k condo. And instead of funding your 401k and locking up your money for 30 years, what if you put 10% down and buy this thing so you could rent it out? You could use it on holidays. Or I had a couple that did it. So, we got this opportunity to get a cabin up in the Poconos, and they used it on holidays, but it stayed constantly rented out. And then it actually went up in value, and they sold it for like $500,000, but they've got all of the pictures, all of the life experiences out of it, and they made money.
Here's the thing, Curtis. Right now, you can go and buy that vacation getaway house, do it correctly, list it on Airbnb. Not only will it pay for itself, it will most likely pay for your primary mortgage as well.
Wow.
So that's what we talk about, assets paying for our lifestyle.
Y'all, let me tell you, I have half-page notes. So if you're watching the video and you see me silent and looking down writing, okay. So let me stay focused, right? See, podcast is like free consulting for Curtis, just so y'all know. Right. So I was like, we need I came to this laundromat thing, and now I was like, all right, no, we need a second thing. First, I didn't want a second house because I didn't want the headache, but it's not about having a second house. I didn't want another vacation house that just sits. So you got to put all your assets
put to work,
have to go to work for you. And so Are there any other, I think we might have hit them already. Any other key concepts in your mind for succeeding, as a short-term rental investor that are, traits of people that are good at this because it is running a business or, some philosophy you have?
Yeah, we could talk about traits. I think the two most important traits to have is to approach it like a business. So being professional. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of hosts that, take it personally, right? I'm part of groups and people discuss things and they get really kind of bent out of shape about somebody, a guest did this or that or said this. In business, we can't take what our customers say personally, right? Mm-hmm. That is the definition of professionalism, right? So one trait is professionalism, and I think the other is hospitality. Mm-hmm. We are in the hospitality business when we're doing this, so it really helps to actually enjoy people and enjoy what you're doing, and that shines through. So as a trait, we have to have a hospitality mindset.
Host, the key word there, right?
Yeah, right. Hosting,
and that's a good thing. So you got to want to do that because it is work. You got to clean the stuff out. You got to turn it. It's like a hotel, right? You're really in the hotel business, kind of.
You are in the hotel.
You're a hotel business. So
we say like we're a boutique hotel brand.
Yeah. But I think if you come into it that way, then people, if you start to get in multiple markets, people will start to. Do people start to look for you? For example,
I do. What happens on Airbnb is if you click on somebody's profile, let's see if you see a listing and then you click on their picture, it'll show you all of their other properties. So I'll often get people saying, yeah, I stayed at one place, but I clicked on, I see you got this other one, or I see you have several in town. I wanted to come with my dog, but the one that we were looking at wasn't pet friendly. I see you've got some others. How about this one? So yeah, it does. Once you have a few, people do start to, and I think your style starts to show too on what your places look like. But yeah, it does become, you do get known through that profile of showing all of your properties.
So it's a little bit of work because the active business, but you've kind of tell us about your background. This is like you bought some technical automation stuff into play to kind of help people make their life a little bit easier and get more organized and running the business side of it.
Yeah, and just to clarify from a second ago about the operations, I never recommend anybody do any of their own like cleaning.
Right.
So, just for your listeners, don't think, oh, I don't want to do this because I don't want to be out there.
That never even occurred to me, right? It's like, okay, no, but you gotta get it done.
You need a team.
Just overthinking, because listen, I'm unhandy. So fixing things, cleaning things, that has never occurred to me, right? So there's people that could be. My philosophy was a book by Dan Sullivan, Who Not How, and I look for who. Now, how can Curtis do it? But some of y'all will think, oh, I could just go and do this. I can get the kids up. No, that's not. Especially if it's 2 hours away. You don't want to go there like that.
Try to build a process and a business, right?
Mm-hmm. So talk about the process.
So yeah, what are some of the things that you can do? You've heard Airbnb. Is it, a lot of people are getting into it. Is it too late? Most people who are getting into it without a proper, base of education and tools. So, that starts with, finding the right area. We talked about how to research that. Moves on to what we call make it pop. Make sure your place is really clean and clutter free and decorated well. You're going to take professional photos, are an absolute must. Don't go out there with your iPhone because you're going to stand out with professional photos. And then here, let's dig into the real biggies. So the real biggie is what we call price for occupancy, meaning we want that place full. It's not making us money when it's sitting idle.
Right.
So a lot of hosts, 90% of hosts out there, pick a price. My place is worth $200 a night, and they just fix that price. And what happens is they could probably be getting a lot more on the weekend or on the holiday than that $200. But they might be sitting empty during the week because somebody's not willing to pay $200 next Tuesday night. So the way we do that is we use a third-party dynamic pricing tool. I use one called Price Labs. And this thing knows exactly what the demand and the supply is for any given day. You provide that base price of 200 and it's going to turn it up for you, on the holidays and on the weekends. And it's going to turn it down in your near term, you're close, a couple days away, aren't quite booked yet. We want to get that sold by sort of doing the price reduction. The further benefit from being full every day, we make money every day. The real key benefit is the search engines, the search platforms work like a search engine. So they have to decide if there's 300 listings in Black Bear, they have to decide which of those they're going to show in what order. And the ones that think about it, who are they going to show? They're going to show the ones that are creating revenue for the platform, right?
Yeah.
So who's booking, who's staying full? If I show this lead, which of these listings is going to close it? And so that is a key component into understanding the algorithm that is Airbnb.
Wow. That's huge. That's like, we just stayed at some place that was probably $500-$600 a month. We were in Miami, but we got it for my wife is like the hot wire queen, right? So she found some like $230 a night or whatever, because she got it and she figured out where they were going to send us and she booked it, right? But and so because it's better, you think like a hotel, you need people in there, because you might have other amenities that you could upsell or whatever. Are there things like that? Can you do that? I just
Some people do some things like that. I don't have, other than extra guest fees.
Okay.
So, if I've got a 3 or 4 bedroom house, let's say that base price was $200 a night.
Yeah.
But if you've got 4 or 5 or 6 guests, we can set it up where, each guest over, say 3 is going to pay an additional, say $20 a night.
Or pet
fees. Yeah. Some people do that. I don't. But yeah, people do all kinds of creative stuff. This is business, right? So people,
it's your
people
business,
sell art.
right?
Yeah. People sell art, maybe
you put art on the wall with a price tag on it. You want to buy this? Yeah.
Why not? Absolutely. Why not? Right. I know real estate agents that make sure to put like a little brochure out like, hey, if you like a house like this, I can help you find one. Whatever your hustle is, this is just more people through the door.
Right. That's phenomenal. Okay. Tell me, so we just went through, I was going to say pandemic. I'm not going to say that. Pandemic or COVID, right? So how did COVID impact your investments in travel? How did you all fare through that?
So, this business was always really good. COVID hit, and that definitely for about 60 days, there was, when things first, hit the fan, when New York was going on fire, whatever was happening up there. So that 60 days at the beginning of the summer 2 years ago was a little weird. But as soon as that ended, the Airbnb short-term rental market exploded. So it went from good to great.
Wow.
People aren't going to Europe. They're not going, they're not going down to Mexico. They're not, might not be going to Disney World. People are staying. And I think there's a fundamental shift in the way people vacation travel. There's a lot more of this drive away travel, right? Drive to the park, drive to the, river, drive to the wineries. And so on top of that sort of leisure travel, we've changed fundamentally how we work. So people are doing a whole lot more work from home, which means a whole lot more staring at the same 4 walls. So I get every week, the midweek rates are now more like, pre-pandemic weekend rates, because people just want to, get out and work from somewhere else and, go take a hike and, just be in a different setting.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you can, as long if your work is like that, then you could still be productive, but you could, work for 4 hours, go for a hike or go to the lake and go kayaking and come back in. And, that's what I envision. Right. Because I like what I do. So I don't need to necessarily get away from what I do because I love it. So there's sometimes where I don't want to do anything. And there are times where, okay, well, I can still get a couple, 3 hours a day in and, stay productive and still feel like I'm getting away depending on what you do.
So there's really these 2 classes. There's people who are really just taking a couple day vacation and getting away. And that's always been the market. But now there's this additional side of the market where people are just want to work in a different environment.
Yeah. And see, entrepreneurs solve problems, right? And so I was just talking to clients, if you want to make more, you've got to figure out how to be of greater value or solve bigger problems for more people, right? But it's all being a good host is about pleasing people and solving the thing. Because so money follows value. So I think people get caught up in the money, but they've got money's a result. And I think of being a good host and being, serving people, the better your philosophy is around that. It seems to me that from what you stated, you'll be better at this business.
Exactly. And you don't have to have, the $1 million home. Right? Some of my cabins are really kind of small, but you can put in that value, with a can of paint. And, we do all kinds of unique things. We provide all kinds of toys for the kids, and, buy DVDs on eBay. You can buy 100 DVDs on eBay for, $50. I built a little tree fort in one place,
Oh, that's nice.
games, toys, kitchen amenities. So you can stand out. You don't have the most successful places on Airbnb are really unique, like tree houses. And this doesn't even have to be a house. People do like Airstream trailers and tiny houses. And so you can, go on Airbnb and look around, or Google, like it doesn't have to be a $600,000 house at the beach, to get started.
Right.
You can make something unique that people.
That's a really good point. So it's your imagination. So what, Culin, what you got my head exploding. So now I'm like, right. So this is my catch-all to make sure I didn't miss anything. What didn't I ask you that I should have asked you that you want to make sure that we get out in this interview?
I guess the other piece that people will sometimes say is, yeah, but I'm busy. How much, tell me how much extra workload is this going to be? I already got, a couple things going on. So another key component is that there are softwares that will manage 90% of your guest communications. So I use one called Hospitable. And when, Curtis, if you were to go book one of my places right now, you're going to get an automatic message. Thank you, Curtis. You're booked. Here's your confirmation. And then a little later, you're going to get a long email from me that says, here's everything that you need to plan your trip. As you're driving from Philadelphia, stop here, maybe make reservations at this attraction, everything that you would, and that's part of that creating value, right? I become your trip planner. Here's, here's everything you need to know about planning that trip. So the point is that those messages are automated. And so you as the host, you're only responding to kind of the one-off stuff, right? So you get a message, on your phone. And so it is very low time impact to operate once you've got the property up and running.
I love that. I remember we did do Airbnb in Mexico City in June, and it was seamless. And it was like, all right, you have any problems? Did you get your key? And, take a picture that you left the place clean, and then we'll give us a good report as the guest. And then, we gave them a good report, and, thanks for coming and blah, 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 so I'm wondering, I was like, okay, this must be a service or the service that's managing this stuff, not necessarily it could be the host if that's what you care to do, but it also could be somebody else doing that communication.
So in my case, that would just be a software sending you those messages, all those messages, the one that reminds you to write a review, the one that actually writes my review of, and then you as the host, you as the owner operator are really just focused on answering a few little questions on on the app, right? Something that's not handled, and then thinking about how to improve the property and thinking about, your next asset.
Oh my goodness, you're talking my language now. It's like, I don't want to do anything. I just want
make money while you sleep.
And right. And then the other part of that is because different from the arbitrage is that you own the asset. So now you get the depreciation, you get the write-off of the loan, so now Curtis, the financial guy, here's how you minimize taxation and all that kind of stuff. And now you're, I'm trying to think of, your baby Hilton, right? You're doing what the affluent people do, but at your scale, right?
And that's what's so powerful about Airbnb. Airbnb is a greater valuation than the 3 largest hotel chains in the world combined.
Wow.
And why do we care about that? We care about that because we can participate.
Right.
We can put a teepee in our backyard, or we can buy a little place, and now we can operate the way the big boys do with, as you said, right? Depreciation. We can force appreciation. We can force the appreciation of the property by making those small changes, by making it perfect every 3 days, and so, there's upside appreciation, and then there's that tax benefit of the depreciation.
Wow. I mean, so is a good first step is, since if you're doing this and you're doing okay, and you can get a second house,
Mhm.
that might be your first bet. Figure out where people go. If you're near the shore, you can find something, reasonable that fits what you're doing. You could probably get finances. Guys, you ain't trying to play cash. Don't drain the tank for a major capital purchase is what we say. Like, don't eliminate your liquidity. Use debt. There's good debt and bad debt. So this, in my opinion, would be good debt. And then your tenants are going to pay that debt for you. And then, you can use it 4 or 5 times a year, but when you're not using it, it's a moneymaker for you. That is, I'd much rather do that than fund a 401k. And you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring back out that talk, and we're gonna do a joint workshop together. And I want to add this to their mix. Like, here's because this is simple, and it's already stuff banks want to lend on.
Right. Particularly that first one. They're just waiting for you to come and buy that, getaway cabin. Right.
And then you can build
financial institutions used to that.
Yeah. And so you're making good money. Okay, I want a beach house. I want this. I want a cabin. And they're already willing to do that. And you won't have to do according to what you're saying, the 20% down you got to do on a non-owner occupied like investment property per se. So it's a good way to get yourself into the game, into the real estate business game, what I call the BI side of the cash flow quadrant, with one swoop.
Yeah, and you mentioned that before. It really is this great hybrid between business and real estate.
Yeah,
right? It's operating the real estate as a business and leveraging that to get far greater, 5 times returns that you would get on a passive property.
Yes, Culin, I'm so fired up right now. You have no idea. So
that's what I do.
Yeah. So how can they follow you? Get in your world, figure out how to do this. Tell them where to go, because I want y'all to call him, okay?
Right?
And figure out how to do this stuff.
Absolutely. So my website is hostcoach.co, and you can book a consultation with me there. The book, Host Coach, Blueprint for Creating Financial Freedom Through Short-Term Rental Investing, is available on Amazon. And literally, it's a $19.95 book, and it is going to take you step by step through this. I'm here to back you up should you have questions. And then if you want to kind of follow the journey, what we do and what our places look like, on Instagram, it's at @host_coach.
Okay. So we'll
do some fun stuff there.
Say it again. Say the Instagram one again.
Host Coach.
Host Coach. Okay.
I think there's an underscore between the host and the coach because you don't do spaces.
Right. So, okay. So we'll put these in the show notes. So make sure y'all reach out, follow him. I think this is a great niche for y'all to generate. Remember, your goal is to become financially free, which is passive income greater than expenses. And, our theme is wealth outside of Wall Street. So we just gave you another way to skin a cat that you can get into, in my mind, relatively simply and really have a good guide so you can, overcome a lot of the pitfalls of not having a plan, not having the education, not having the tools. Instead of like beating your head against the wall, you've already got a guide, okay, to kind of coach you through this stuff and get profitable way faster than you would just trying to figure it out on your own. So that is the key, guys.
That's the jam.
That's the jam. And so, oh my goodness, I'm so fired up. So we'll put this in the show notes. So Culin, thank you so much for coming on the Practical Wealth Show and dropping a bunch of gems with us. And we'll, you let us know how we can support you, because I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Love to hear from your community, and thanks for having me.
All right, guys. So go out there, reach out, make it a profitable day, and we'll see you next week on the Practical Wealth Show.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before